Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of HSP TV. I am your host, Barbara, and today I am joined by the fabulous Nicole, LeDonna. And our topic for today is becoming who you are meant to be, spiritually, but also about taking charge of your health, your family, and your community. So this is going to be an awesome, interesting one. Welcome, Nicole. It's so awesome to have you here today.
Hi, Barbara. It's just terrific to be with you.
Right, we met a couple of weeks ago and it just really clicked, and we decided to just have a wonderful conversation about what it means to become who you were meant to be. Yeah, a lot of people use that phrase, but as a catchphrase, but what does it actually mean? What does it mean to you, Nicole?
Well, that's a good question. I think for me at this moment, it's not being ashamed of who you are. It's kind of looking at the places that you feel uncomfortable about maybe, but looking at them with grace.
Mm-hmm.
Just accepting that you're doing the best you can, and you're having a human experience, and there are things that are accessible to us as humans to help us feel better and do better. But certainly working against ourselves makes it worse. So like becoming our own best friend is kind of the way I look at it, that's
Exactly.
The first step to me,
And so you mean without judgment, with grace, without judgment, because that is one of our pitfalls as sensitive people. We tend to raise the bar really high, especially for ourselves. And whenever we are doing something that we perceive as wrong or not the intention, then we can judge ourselves or be really harsh. And I think about just being neutral in it, at least.
Yes, it's acceptance, right?
Yes.
There's so many offshoots of this. So there's acceptance. There's taking full responsibility, which is different than blaming. How do I look at what I did and own it without blaming myself? Just going, I did do that. I take responsibility, and then weighing, how do I feel about it? And if there's something I want to do to change what I've done or going forward, just to becoming at peace about that, without the judgment and the blame, the harshness, The other thing is, what I've also come to value is parsing out what area am I looking at, So a lot of people, they think we're just physical. We're just a physical being living in this very physical world. Then there are people who are living more in the unseen realm, where they have access to it, or they value that more. It's hard to talk about even a relationship with that, Yeah. But it's also evaluating from what perspective am I approaching what I'm having a feeling about. So if I am working in the world, like the worldly expectations, wow, that's the place that I've really unplugged. I don't really answer to the world about worldly success or, any of that stuff. It's not that it never comes up for me. Like right before this, we were joking about my hair, whatever, but I'm just saying, like, it's not a very big deal to me. No. As opposed to, what does it mean in that unseen realm, which makes us human, the things about love, connection, caring, compassion, where am I in that area? And that's usually where not only I find I might find more pain initially in that worldly stuff, especially when I was younger, but certainly working in that unseen realm, that non-physical, that's where the comfort really comes from for me.
Yes. You're right. I often now am able to look back at things and then think, okay, the way you were raised, the things that went on in your life, the beliefs that you've acquired, and the self-protection mechanisms that you've built for yourself, I understand why you responded in this way. And so that's the compassionate side towards yourself. You're just taking action for, okay, I did this, and how I love doing that. And I'd love to hear if you maybe do something similar, but I often have these humorful conversations with myself in my head
Mm.
where I look at something and then I think, oh, that was not handy. No, definitely not. Okay, glad we're in agreement. So why did we do this?
Mhm.
Well, I've been wondering the same. Okay, so shall we analyze together? Oh, that
Mhm.
might be a good idea. Okay, so where do you think it went wrong? Well, yeah, I should not have said this, or I should not have shouted,
Mhm.
or, I should not have something. Okay, yes, I
Mhm.
completely agree. Do we have any idea why we responded this way?
Mhm.
Well, and then something
Yes.
comes out, and I think, yeah, see, so okay, now that we know this, how can we respond in a different way next time? Or
Mhm.
is there something that we maybe are called to heal, or what can we learn from this? Oh, I'm loving your questions today.
Mhm.
And I have a conversation like that
Yes.
with myself where I keep it light and airy, and just try to look at what can I learn from this experience, and how can I just bend it into something that is like a teachable moment and that helps me either heal or move past or do it differently next time around.
I 100% agree with that. And, you know, that's why for me, it's like our relationship with ourself is key, and coming to a place, learning how to have those conscious communications where it is like reparenting. How would I, because I do have 3 children, how did I talk to them that was affected? How did I talk to them when I realized, oh, that was not helpful? And it wasn't even what I meant to say to them. I know that by their reaction or their response. So yes, that's the way I like to approach myself as well, because at the heart of it is a child.
Yes.
That's a child, people call it child parts, which I don't mind. It's a younger part, whatever the
Your
terms are,
child. Yeah.
yes. But the helpful thing is to know that response or whatever I'm doing, that reaction is not coming, it's not coming from all of me as this grown up in the present world. It's coming from this older echo that's got triggered and thinks that thing is happening right now, So
Yes,
it's
if
also
you
parsing out, was I responding in the moment? Where of course, if I am, like right now, if I say something that I didn't like, I'll immediately go back and say, wait a minute, I didn't really mean to, well, it came out this way. But if I notice afterwards, like, wow, that was, or somebody gets back to me and confronts me, I know it's not about the present right now. Something that is kind of stuck from the past,
it's usually our hurt inner child.
Yeah.
So the
Mm-hmm.
part of us that got hurt as a child, that's still in there, still hurting. And what I never knew was one of the best things I think I learned is that you can parent your own inner child.
Yes. Right.
So as a child, you're looking for love, and you're looking for confirmation, and you're looking for validation, and all of these normal things for children, right? And
Yes.
when you grow up in a situation where you're lacking that, either completely or some parts of it, or it's in and out or whatever, then we as children often don't understand, and the things we don't understand we just sort of park somewhere in the closet
Yes.
in our mind. And
Right.
later that comes to haunt us because we keep looking for love. So that could be a reason why people keep attracting the wrong romantic partner, for instance, because they're looking for a specific type of love that's not a healthy love for a healthy relationship. So they're attracting the wrong types of people. Or it could be that if you never felt that you were worth something, that you were basically worthless, then it could be that you keep losing your job, or that you never find the profession that really feeds your soul. So it's important to look at these patterns, and the things that we are experiencing in our current life give us clues into which
Right.
part of our inner child is hurt and what that child needs. And you can actually have a conversation
Oh
with your
yeah.
child,
That's
that just like I
100%.
described, but
Yes.
also an intentional one where you just sort of pull it into your lap and say, I'm here for you.
Absolutely.
I see
Sure.
you. I love you. I think you're
Mhm.
incredibly valuable. And what do you need more
Mhm.
of me? What can I do for you?
100%. 100%. I agree. What I've said is that the mind is amazing at, it uses the current situation. It grasps onto the current situation to bring attention to what's kind of still hurting you. That's why in relationships, especially close relationships, you like, for me, I can see for myself, or when I'm working with somebody, that they keep latching on to this problem in the other person or a problem in the relationship. And when they realize that it's actually an echo from their own past that's wanting attention, and as long as they're open to looking at it that way, which they are usually, it's the healing is incredible. And also we go with it's so hard to believe, but we gravitate, as much as we haven't done our work to expose this stuff, we gravitate to what's familiar to us.
Yes.
Right. So if we have a distant parent, the closest relationships we have are distant in the same way, even though there might be something that called us to it. Ultimately, we find out, oh, that person's not really doing such and such. And then when we start scrabbling with that person, we realize, oh, that's the pattern I had with my parent. And of course, it's only we can heal it. There's, only by looking at it and putting light on it. And
I think this is exactly what is happening when women attract men that are like their father, for instance, or men that attract women that are like their
but
mother.
I also think it happens, sometimes people attract that opposite sex parent as the first pass, but then the second marriage, they're like, oh, now I married my mother. I married my father now I married my mother. It's all very interesting. What's interesting is, to me, that this is a big human, it's just a template for all of us. And, I have tended to be, I have not tried every modality out there. Like I've done a lot, but I can't say I've tried everything. But the ones that are very, like, they're tied to what people consider shamans or inner journeys or past life journey, all that stuff. It's always about the child. It's always about going back to the child and those first relationships. That's the ultimate work to me. And of course, in Chinese medicine, what's the first tenet? If the child is sick, treat the mother,
There was a wise Chinese man. I cannot come up with his name. So if any of you know the name, then please let it know in the comments. But he said, give me a child until 7 and I can tell you what man he will become. Because we are created in the first 7 years of our life. Everything's imprinted in them. We learn behaviors, we learn beliefs, we learn everything. So the first 7 years are so incredibly important, informative, and that can really put a stamp on the type of person you are and the things that you're dealing with later on in life.
I mean, a lot of it after that is momentum. It's because you have this pattern and you keep doing it and keep doing it. And then by the time you're a young adult, if there hasn't been any direct intervention, yes, you're going to keep making those choices. However, thank whatever power that, is out there that brings this. A lot of us do wake up and we do go, wait a minute, there's more under the hood of the car.
Exactly.
And even for me, even though I was always extremely introverted and very introspective, I knew there were things I absolutely would not do because of how my family was and the neighborhood I grew up in. But, it's not as if that little bit of work or that little bit of awareness carried me through and made me really pivot. I lived out that childhood well into my adulthood.
Yes.
And now it seems to me, for a lot of people, it really a lot depends on, like, a lot of it's not up to you how fast you're going to heal. It's how much grace you can give yourself, because you actually have to have enough distance between what happened, if it was really traumatic, so you have some safety in your current life. And so that's, like who you're meant to be. Like who you're meant to be is to be known and be seen and to know others intimately and deeply, maybe not a lot of people, and feel safe in your own skin.
Mm-hmm.
And so, people are not going to really do the kind of introspection they need to do to change patterns for themselves unless they actually are safe. And only they know if they're safe or not.
Either that or when the hurt becomes too big. I also see that when they do, and when they just have hit total rock bottom, a lot of my clients, they are on the verge of not wanting to live anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because life is just so, well, let's call it sucky, but yeah, you get probably what I mean. And
Sure.
they're just, you're my last hope. I often hear, you're my last hope. If this doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work, then I don't really want to go on anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That is also usually a catalyst into change, right? Ending up in a severe burnout, a severe illness, breaking with family, friends, drastic situations are usually also a trigger into starting to learn everything about yourself and finally discovering how you work. And that's what it is for me, right? It's discovering who you are underneath all the masks that you're wearing, underneath everything that you're, because I had a mask that was Barbara to my friends, and I had a Barbara for my coworkers, and I had a Barbara for my family, and I had a Barbara for when I went dancing, and I had a Barbara for meditation class, all these versions of myself when I was younger, but none of them was actually Barbara. And that was because Barbara didn't really know who Barbara was either. So it's really difficult to be yourself if you have no clue who you are. And
really interesting. Yeah.
That keeps making you feel like when I tried to be myself, I felt rejected. I felt like I couldn't be myself, that people didn't like me if I was being myself. So those were big motivations.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Myself, right? Into
Well,
some.
I'm sorry, it's just so interesting because this is the kind of stuff that's so fascinating to me. Like why even people would be drawn to work with somebody and not so much to somebody else, because of their own patterns, their own, I was always myself. I was always out of it. I was never just easeful in the world. I was really introverted. You could tell something was, I don't know what the word is, different about me.
Yes.
And so, but I found the same pain. I looked around and I went, okay, I'm going to try to be like that person. I'm going to try that situation. And what it felt like, finally, I said, oh, this is like the life where I literally just took sticky note pads and would stick them to myself like, oh, I'm going to go I'm going to go dance. I'm going to go get a job. And none of it. I couldn't make any of it work,
No, me neither.
And so, right. And so, ultimately all this work, again, like taking the hood off, looking under the hood of the car, it is looking at those more tender human qualities that are not seen. It's not how much money you make or what car you drive or even your relationship or how your family looks or if you have nice kids or good kids or how people are performing. It's literally what were you meant to bring into this world? Like what are the gifts that you bring? And it's not necessarily a big thing. It's not like, oh, my gift is to be a world-class speaker, but it's very small in your own community. And but the work is so thrilling. It's so micro and it's so thrilling, when I'm faced with doing it myself, and of course working with other people. But
we also see that most people, they look to the outside for change.
Yes.
If they don't have the wealth they want, then they must not work hard enough or not smart enough or something like that. Or when they are not being healthy, then they need a better food regimen or a better gym regimen or stuff like that. And when things aren't working with family, then it must be their fault because I am okay. That's what I often see. But the answers to, well, dare I say, everything that you're looking for is on your inside. It's
Yes.
incorporated in who you are. And that's why it's so important that you become who you were meant to be, because only then your true nature, your true brilliance can come out, it can shine. And before then, you're stuck in the shadow version of yourself that's sort of looking like you, but also not, and sometimes even acting in a way that you think, why?
Right. But it's interesting talking about it in this way, because sometimes it might even be coming up for me a little bit right now, that thing about comparing, like what I have found is, let's say, it's hard sometimes for me to know where to put the boat in the water, but because the river's going fast and there's a lot of approaches, but it's a little bit like, so why wasn't my life easier? Why do I still need to have so much alone time to kind of be present to myself? And I would say it's absolutely limited to the amount of trauma. So because the flip side of that is, I absolutely know loving, kind, honest people who their lives, they don't actually need to do this work, because it's not like I can say, I don't know who needs to do it. I can have an opinion, but ultimately, a lot of people actually are living fine, happy lives. They live long lives. They've done well in their family. Then people speak well of them. They've done well in their communities. They've been a joy and a gift to the world. And so no, they don't. A lot of times, what I'm offering is too much for them. They don't even need the kind of thing that I'm offering.
Not yet.
And it sounds like for you too. No, I even know people who have had tragedies in their lives, and there's a buoyancy in them for all kinds of reasons. Of course, faith has a big part of that, but I just am aware that, it's a little bit of becoming aware beforehand that this is a little bit of your template, if it is, that this is the only way that's going to work for you. Because I'm thinking about things that are more positive thinking modalities that people absolutely are benefited by, and for me, it was like whipped cream. It was nothing, it's like, this is not helpful at all, because no, I had a lot more to parse out and peel back. And so that's why it's really who you're meant to be, because we're all so different, and everybody has their own story, and it's kind of like owning what your story is. What is the depth of the work that you need,
Exactly, but it's also part of figuring out your story, right? Because I came into contact with human design and the gene keys, and for me that answered a lot of my why questions. Why am I not feeling happier? Why does this keep on going? Why am I going through all of this? Why, if it's always up down and never seems to end? And for one, I discovered that I'm a 6-3 profile. So a 6 also goes through life as a 3 in the beginning of their life, and that means that you have a 3-phased life. And that means that the first, well, let's say 30 years of my life were hardship and shit and struggle and trial and error and learning by suffering, learning by doing, and just going through a lot of things. And then the second part, between 30 to 50 roughly, it's about becoming who you were meant to be, learning the lessons, letting go of the things that you learned when you were 1 to 7, and then reprogramming yourself into who you really are, letting go, looking at the shadow sides where you've been stuck in with your blueprint, and then moving from there into what your gifts are, and then finally emerging like a phoenix out of the ashes as your beautiful self, roughly around 50. And when I read that, I thought, oh, so that's why it was already imprinted in me the moment I was born. It's literally my blueprint the moment I was born. So it didn't matter what I do or what I didn't do. It was always going to be that way. And it gave me a certain measure of inner peace, if that's logical.
Sure. And you're calling it the gene keys? Is that what
No,
you
I'm
said?
not calling it, but it's the
I
Richard.
thought you said, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, it's called the gene keys, but I'm not calling
Okay.
it that way. Richard
Okay.
Rudd is calling it that way. So
Okay.
human design is a combination between
Oh,
astrology,
yes.
the I Ching, and the Kabbalah
Okay.
and
Okay.
the chakra systems.
Yes.
And then I think that's the yang side of the same medallion. So it's very much about action taking, about gathering
Oh,
insight,
okay.
gathering information,
Yes.
you know
Okay.
that.
Yes.
Where the gene keys are built on top of human design, so to say, and they are more the yin side. So with the
Okay.
gene keys, it's all about contemplation. And every, what is it, a gate in human design, they call a key in the gene keys, and every key has a shadow side, a gift side, and a higher essence side of the same key, and you can move between the three. So learning what your keys are, what the shadow sides are, and then contemplating how they've shown up in your life and how you can move more towards consciously choosing the gift side of it. It has done so much for
Okay.
my well-being, the ability to be myself, for stepping into my purpose, but also finally getting a lot of answers to the why questions, because I really am a why girl. Why?
Yeah, me too. Totally. When I was 10, my whole journal was why. I would just write that word, And today, maybe yesterday, I mean, sometimes this comes up for me. It's like, there are some whys I'm just not going to know. I just have to stop. If I was supposed to know, I would know, but the things that I feel like I can work with and bring to light, that is very soothing to me, and there's an interesting thing when I hear you speak about what you just talked about, human design, and the things that I've studied and availed myself of, as a way to heal or get peace or find my place. And I guess the thing that is speaking to me lately, and this reminds me of learning how to write. If you're going to write a story, let's say, and they teach you this even in high school, maybe even younger grades now, the whole story arc, about the characters, and there's going to be a climax and it's going to drop off in resolution, and how complicated stories is really that same framework, but it might just have multiple characters going through it, And then, of course, there are some experimental writers that try to break that open or not use it, But those works, I mean, they have people that love the work, but it's not for the masses. Most people really resonate with the form of story,
Yes.
So I think what I'm also working with is, when you say human design, is that what I really, whether this is politically correct or not, be it as it may, we're all just looking at things. I came from a very liberal background, and I came from very relativist, which I didn't even know that's what was going on until recently. And so I do look more at biologically, who are we? Is it, really about males and females? And it doesn't answer everything. Nothing answers everything, actually. But that I have found way more soothing.
Well, we talked about being a multi-potentialite before we started the show, right? So for people that are watching and listening, it means that you are good at a lot of things and that you're interested in a lot of things, and that actually is your power. Not one thing and being a specialist in it, but just being good in a lot of things. So another field that I studied in is called neuroscience, and then especially epigenetics. And that's the science of how your thoughts impact you on a cellular level. So on a biological level, and the impact that what we are thinking is having on how we manifest illnesses, for instance, or
100%.
lines, wrinkles, pains, everything. And all of these things for me are just little puzzle pieces. And that's why I love having so many modalities to choose from. I do energy work. I also do emotional freedom techniques, like you, acupuncture. So we both are very broad in what we do. And I've always been made to feel that that is wrong, because you need to be a jack of all trades, master of none. That's one of the
Oh, I
sayings that
see.
people love to say, and they always advocate that you need to be a specialist, that you need to have one target audience and then do one thing for them and become really good at it, while we are just really good at finding people where they need to be found, offering
Well,
what they need in that moment, whatever that is.
well, what I often forget this term for myself, but it's I'm really what I'm the best at is troubleshooting. That's really what I am. Like if something's broken, I might actually not even know anything about it, but I surprise myself sometimes. I'll know where at least to suss out what the problem is, even in electronics, even in things I don't know. It's pattern recognition. And it's just a God-given talent. I mean, that's, so I do own that. And so I'm not, the whole thing about needing to be a specialist, I know that that's not true for me, because like what I said when we were offline was, I just have a wealth of experience. So, not only do I know what people might need, yes, that's true. A lot of times coaches don't even need to know how to do the thing, but they do need to understand what the person is actually struggling with. Again, is it like the worldly thing, or is it a spiritual issue? Just parsing that out. I forgot where I was going with this, but it's about troubleshooting. And I was excited about something. Oh, just that thing about needing to be a specialist. That's really more about marketing, is what I have found. Because and it makes sense. In other words, if you if I'm a generalist, I just go, I can coach anybody, I can help anybody do anything. Okay, maybe you're going to know what I do, maybe you're not. But if I tell you I work with business owners that need to make sure that their marriages stay intact because they work so long and their partner often feels like they're a widow, then you're going to know who needs me if somebody comes to you asking for that. And you don't do it. You know what I'm saying? Right.
And
so
there's
that's
nothing
where
wrong with that. But
no.
when you are a multi-talent like us, it
Yes.
can be that one time, but it can also be
Yes.
if you are a 9-to-5 employee that's thinking, oh, is this really all there is to life? Because
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be happy. I have a good job. I have a house. I have a partner that I love, but there's something missing. That could be your message the next time. And that could also
Right.
be the person that
Yes.
you
No,
help.
I agree. No,
And
I
they
really
say
struggle with
you
that
need
until I realized, oh, it's important to be that specialist when you're marketing. But of course, you get referrals, people hear about you and you've helped them. And then they're like, can you help them with this? And I'm like, I think I can. Let me give them it's really a question of whether I resonate for them.
Yes.
And for me, it's really a question of whether they want to look, they don't want to be in denial. I mean, I've had clients who've worked with me, they've paid me. I had a woman, this one still cracks me up. She came to learn how to be honest with her husband. They had been married for 40 years. She was older than I am now. And we worked, and there were all these things she hadn't told him, like what she spent on building her art studio. Anyway, she said, don't leave a message on the machine because I don't want my husband knowing that I work with you. And I was like, and so I said to her something about being honest with you. I was like, I never heard from her again. And I tried a couple of times. I would have given her money back or whatever, made a deal in good faith, reaching out to her. And I really never heard from her again. And so now I'm way more intentional when I'm talking to people, because I want them to get value. I want to be of help to them. I want them to get what they want, and if I'm not what they need, if I'm not the person that they need, let's find what's going to
I'll happily refer them to someone else that I think would be a better fit, because and you probably also not, if I'm listening to you, but I don't believe in competition. People choose you based on your energy and the experiences that you have and
absolutely
that you might be able to do for them. So that's why we both offer a free chat, and mine's a free coffee chat, yours is just a free chat, but they are both designed to have a low threshold and to just meet people and talk and to see if we are a good match, to see if we click, sick, if I feel like I can help you, if you feel that you can be helped by me, and to see if we could work together, yes or no. And no is also perfectly fine. Then I will look at, oh, maybe you could work with Nicole, or maybe you could work with Michelle, or maybe you can work with Martin.
Yes,
Because
I'm
I
right
know
there too.
so many people that might be
Yeah,
a better fit for you than I could be. And
right.
I happily refer you to there because
I agree.
like you, for me, it's most important that people get the help they need, not that
Yes,
I'm the one helping,
100%, 100%. That's yes,
right?
yes.
So
Yeah,
we were also going to talk about taking charge of your health, family, and
yes.
community. So
Okay.
what would be your top 3 tips in taking charge of your health, family, and community?
Well, the first thing I would say is really becoming humbled to the fact that you actually matter. Like what you do and what you don't do affects everything around you.
Mhm.
So you need to choose. In other words, and the whole thing about the victim mentality, I don't use that language so much, but it's, are you going to participate? And how are you going to participate? So the first thing is realizing that you're important in your life. You know, if you're not feeling well, I mean, this is the saddest thing to me. In California, when I first got licensed 20 something years ago, the acupuncturists were just starting to ratchet up. They started to have primary care practitioner status. I think we're still called that, but all it means is we can order tests. Okay. But what I thought what they were going for was, we're going to work as primary care people. Like somebody doesn't feel well. I don't know. I have a little sniffle. I don't feel so right. I haven't slept so well.
In the
Yes.
family doctor, same
Yes.
time.
Come in. That's what, but of course, we're at the end of the road now. Like I told you, I would have people with 15 medications and they've had 10 surgeries. They literally don't know which way is up. Well, you're coming acupuncture too late. This is a little needle, and that's why I started coaching, because to unravel all that, to help them see that and where they would have to be for one little needle to be helpful to them, to move the energy, that unseen realm is going to take a lot of detoxing and moving away from the whole medical system, right? So the first is really realizing that you're a participant, and very important. In your family, your kids are having problems, let's say. Where are you in that? Can you look at yourself? It's not your fault. It's not like my children struggled, as we all struggle. I wasn't like, oh, I'm so, no, but where am I in that,
Yes,
and starting to become an active participant.
exactly.
And then the second thing is starting to parse out, I really have this image of going to the beach, maybe with a good friend, going to be warm and sunny. If that's your thing, we're going to lay out the blanket and we're going to take everything out and just lay it out and look at what are all the balls in the air? What are all the toys in this basket? What's impacting what? And making some decisions. What am I keeping and what am I not keeping?
Exactly.
And then
You're lugging around in your backpack, and what can you
yes,
do
yeah,
without?
yeah. And then the third thing, I guess, is becoming your own best friend. You can't do this in any effective way if you have, and people talk about like becoming your best, they'll talk about getting rid of the inner critic.
Right.
Again, I don't look at it like that. I really look at, let's maximize where are the places that you do like yourself? Where are the places that you can extend grace? Sometimes it's very secretive. Like I was very ashamed at how intuitive I was. And it doesn't mean that I was always right. It was that I would have a hint about, I would be aware of things that other people weren't, and I might not have gotten it right, but there was something in there that I know was not seen or being said, So that was a place I felt I could go, okay, that's the thing that's about me that I like,
I recognize what you're saying. For the longest time, people were sort of scared of me when I was younger because I knew things. I didn't know how I knew, but I knew things, and they were always spot on, and it scared people because I knew things I had no business of knowing. So
Right.
when I was younger, whenever I would just in childlike innocence blurt out something,
Yeah.
people would be scared. So they made me feel like that was a bad thing, that I couldn't
Yeah.
say that I couldn't do that I couldn't be that person. So that's when I started suppressing a really big part of who I am, which gave me lots of issues later on. And only now that I'm learning to allow that part back into my life and to embrace it, and even now relying on it within my business, because it's an awesome tool,
Exactly.
the
Well,
work
of
that
course,
we're
like,
doing.
and that's like when we talk about gifts, it's like, so it's also that there's a fourth thing, which is now calling out those things as your gifts. Not that you're the only one who has that gift, not that that gift is better than other gift. No, that's your gift. That's what you bring to the party.
Exactly.
Who wants to go to the party where everybody's doing and wearing the same thing? We like that diversity, and we need that diversity, So I would say those are the three, the things that I work with mostly is really realizing your own place in the thing that you're living out, you participate, and then look head on at your life. What do you like? What you don't like? What is there for you that you can use? What do you just go, I don't need that anymore, and then becoming your own friend, your best friend, that you're your own ally. If nobody else is going to stand with you, you can stand.
That is one of the biggest transformations for myself, because when I was younger, I couldn't be alone. I couldn't entertain myself. I hated being alone. And I know a lot of people who hate being alone. But nowadays, I have so much fun by myself. I often prefer my own company to other people. I go to the sauna by myself. I even go on holidays by myself now. And I enjoy the hell out of it, because I really like who I am. And I like spending time with myself. And it's such a relief to go to that place, because that's power, but that's also freedom. When you don't need anybody else to be happy, when you don't need anybody else to feel joy, to love your day, to find fulfillment, and to just love life, right?
And and what else is interesting when you say that? Like we talked about how people need different things. I can't get there on my own. I actually have to have a relationship with, I call God.
That could be in your design.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And I didn't know that. So I learned to tolerate being alone, but and this is the hard part. It isn't like being with somebody else was better. I didn't like that either. That perfect person no, some days I need to be, or sometimes I need to be alone, but I actually need to be with the God that I feel a part of. And like I said, just like not everybody needs to do this deep work that right? Not everybody needs God. I need God every day. And I just am open about that. And again, that's what's so incredible. That's what's so incredible.
Single definition. So that means that everything already communicates within me. I don't need anybody else. I'm a self-sustaining system. But you can also be a split definition or triple definition. And that means that you need other people in your life to become whole, because they have the parts that you are missing. And together with someone, all your parts communicate. And that can bring movement in your life. And you crave that, but also not 100% of the time, because especially as a sensitive person, and especially as an introverted, I'm an extroverted sensitive person.
Oh, okay.
So I sometimes need people and sometimes I need alone. But introverted sensitive people, they need a lot of alone time, and that's also perfectly fine.
Yeah, I notice that I need social contact. I do the best when I have some close connections, and they're not always here. But I definitely need social contact, like the local coffee house where I see the same person after 5 or 6 months and I say hello to them, we chat for a minute. That I definitely need. And then alone time, it's just interesting. Even on my own, when I'm good, it's like, no, I need that thing that's bigger than me, that I know is loving me and can see me. And I don't know if it's because of how desolate my childhood was. I believe that children need that circle of the cheering committee that becomes your own cheering committee. I don't know. And actually, this is one of those things that the whys I might not get the answer for that.
That's why I say it could be in your design. And if we then are talking about having a business and marketing, for instance, if you are a split or a triple split definition, and you are wanting to write a blog or create a workshop or something, then you need to have access to all your parts. But that's not possible when you're a split or triple definition. So for you, your strategy might be to actually go to a cafe when you're trying to
It's 100%
write a
right.
workshop with other people who might
It's
have
100%
those
true.
parts, and so that you can connect with them and then get your
It's 100% true.
out, right?
You have no idea the hours of study in cafes and very busy libraries. When I'm at home alone, I rattle around. Maybe I write a sentence. It's quite fascinating. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Probably in your design. So that's why I say learning about all of this, it gave so many answers to why. Why do I work better when I'm in a cafe than by myself? For me, it's the other way around. I get distracted by everything and everybody.
Yeah.
Although I also can distract myself. That's also a funny story. Sometimes it feels like I'm two people in one person, and I always need to have music playing, not music I can sing along to, because that's also distracting, but like instrumental music or chill or deep house or something like that. And it's almost like that's distracting half of me, so that the other half.
Right. Yeah. I was definitely like that more when I was younger. As I've gotten older, I've always been a very deep researcher, digger, a lot of the sources are harder to come by these days, but it's even become a little bit more intense for me. Like sometimes I can't have any outside thing because whatever I'm doing is so compelling, but it's just, I guess for me, just the whole stages of life thing, I'm still here, I'm healthy. And I just, because after my kids were grown and I wasn't needed in that realm the way that I was, and the whole thing with COVID and the world getting very quiet, let's just say that, I was very lost. And because what I was working towards to be out in business again, wow, that just really closed down for me. And so I was like, maybe this is it, but no, it's not it. I mean, I really love being helpful. And I'm not the master of that. Like, I can't get in the car and go, I know it's going to be helpful. I have no idea. I find out as I'm bumping around in the world and people, whatever the interactions are. So
yeah, I love that. I had a similar situation, and when COVID hit, I also thought it was the end of the line, but I just went into some form of deep inner contemplation, like a caterpillar that turns into a butterfly, or the phoenix that turns to ashes and then arises again. It's sort of like that, and I'm feeling like now we're getting out of it again, and we're moving towards the highest expression of who I really am, who I'm meant to be. And it feels awesome to be on that road. So anybody and everybody that's watching, listening, thank you for being here. I would love it if you would share your insights, your questions below this video or this podcast, so that we can answer your questions and share also your insights. I can also imagine that they might want to know where they can find you, Nicole. How can they reach you? Where can they find you?
Okay. At the moment, I'm on Facebook, and it's under my name, Nicole LeDonna, which is Nicole, LeDonna, LeDonna, comma, capital L period, AC for licensed acupuncturist. And I'm also a wellness coach, and on Instagram. And I love getting emails with questions. That's one of my favorite places to relate. And you can just find me at NicoleLeDonna@gmail.com.
Okay, awesome. I'll make sure that all of this information is included in the show notes, so that the people that are watching or listening that want to contact you have an easy way of doing just that. Because I think we've had just the most wonderful conversation today, and we touched upon some really amazing points and stuff. So I think the last thing that I'd like to say to the people that are watching and listening is if anything touched you, if anything resonated with you, it might be in a painful area, it might also be in a positive area. If you need help in any form or are just not sure and maybe want more clarity in finding out if you need help and if yes, with what, then please do not hesitate to reach out to both me or to Nicole. I'll make sure that you know how to do that. And we both offer a free, no strings attached form of being able to meet us and just talk. Because like we've already said multiple times in our episode today, we just love helping people and we love doing that any way we can, right?
Yes, thank you so much. Can I add one quick thing?
Yes, of course.
Okay. So as I'm hearing this, and when you said that you thought it was the end of the line after COVID and you had deep, contemplation, you came out feeling more like your wonderful butterfly self. Sometimes I think this is a time right now where everybody's going to have to make a decision about whether they're going to shine, basically. And that's kind of one of the big secrets that people that are wounded or feel wounded or unable to participate fully, that's one of the big secrets, is that they know they have this light, but because of where they grew up, how they grew up, the people that are around them, they're not accepted for that. They can't even see it in themselves. And so that's part of it also, is really uncovering that and making space for that light, because the world needs light. I mean, that's
definitely.
Yeah. So
I
thank you
love
so
that
much.
addition. Thank you so much for being here, Nicole, and for sharing your wonderful wisdom, and also for this final wisdom bomb, which is the perfect way to end today's episode. So thank you, everybody, for being here, for watching, for listening, for supporting. I love you, and I hope that you will join me for my next talk with another wonderful guest here on HSP TV. For today, I wish you an amazing rest of your day or evening, wherever you are, and I hope to meet you one day in person.